Welcome to the March 9th meeting of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education. Superintendent, will you take the roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Huey.
Here.
Ms. Lorette.
Here.
Ms. Lofthouse.
Here.
Mr. Reed.
Here.
All are accounted for. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we will be recessing to closed session. The closed session agenda items include student matters, employer-employee relations, conference with legal counsel regarding litigation, conference with real property negotiators, and personnel matters. I don't see anybody in public here looking to provide public comment on the closed session issues. Do we have anybody online? No, Mr. Reed. Okay. Then, seeing no public comments on the closed session items, we will recess to closed session, and we will be back at 6 p.m. sharp. Thank you. All right, welcome to the March 9th meeting of the Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board of Education. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, broadcast statement. A broadcast and recording is being made at the direction of the board, and the broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. The meeting is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel. Folsom Cordova Unified School District Board Policy 1313 promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among employees, parents, and the public. We will treat staff, parents, and members of the public with respect and expect the same in return. If any member of the public uses obscenities or communicates in a demanding, loud, insulting, and/or demeaning manner, the board will calmly and politely admonish the person to communicate civilly. Public comments during board meetings are an important component of public engagement and transparency. Members of the public will not be permitted to yield their speaking time to another member of the public. All written comments submitted by 3 p.m. today to the board have been read. Per the Brown Act, the board is not allowed to enter into a two-way discussion on any matter not on the agenda. At the direction of the board, the superintendent will call roll, acknowledging the board received all electronic comments submitted as it pertains to today's board meeting. Superintendent, please call the roll.
Yes, Ms. Perez.
Here.
Ms. Srivastava.
Here.
Mr. Clark.
Here.
Mr. Huey.
Here.
Ms. Larrett.
Here.
Ms. Lofthouse.
Here.
Mr. Reed.
Here.
All are accounted for. Thank you.
All right, that takes us to agenda item 5, reporting out of closed session. Superintendent?
Yes, the board did take action in closed session tonight. They voted unanimously to approve a disciplinary settlement and resignation agreement for a district teacher, employee number 614123. Pursuant to the agreement, the teacher will remain in paid status through May 26, 2023.
All right, thank you. Adoption of the agenda, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Board Member Clark, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Lofthouse. Superintendent, take the roll.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Huey?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right. Agenda item 7, special presentations. First one is students. Superintendent.
Yes, I'm very excited this evening to welcome Monica Himrick, our principal at Folsom Hills Elementary, to share about the connections that she and her staff and students are making. And they have a presentation, or she has a presentation she'll be sharing that highlights her students and the connections they're making to opening doors. Welcome, Monica.
Thank you, Dr. Collegian, President Reed, and school board members. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. My name is Monica Himrick, and I'm the principal at Folsom Hills Elementary. When I signed up to, or agreed to speak tonight, I thought, I need to do something fancy, and I need to tell you all these great things. And then I kind of thought, stop and remember what our theme at Folsom Hills has been this year. And it's really been slowing down and taking a breath and remembering what is really important. We're in a crazy time in education, and there's a lot of stress and a lot of just work that needs to be done. But this year we have come in, and I tried to really remind the staff at the elementary level, we need to provide a strong foundation. We need to provide a foundation in reading, writing, and math. And everything else is going to come. And forget about all that social media and that cool thing that you saw on Teachers Pay Teachers and all that gets you wound up. We have to provide our foundation for our students. And so that you could feel a collective kind of sigh. Like I said, can you teach reading? And we said yes. And can you teach math? Yes. And we could do this. And then we also talked about like our adjunctive duties that we take on in school, such as spelling bees or activities. And we talked about this is a great time in education to not always do what we've always done. We've had a pause with the world around us, and let's come back and let's have some passion. So what are you passionate about? And so no one wanted to do a spelling bee this year at my site. There was no passion behind that, but you know what? A teacher wanted to do a parent night about reading. She wants to work with parents and struggling readers and what parents can do to help. Fantastic. 3 teachers want to put on a play. They're working 2 days a week with students after school for 2 hours. They're going to put on the Jungle Book. So we're working on remembering what our foundations and our passion. Then when I got Dr. Clegan's email recently, and she put out the theme, opening doors, I thought that is it. So tonight I would like to talk to you about opening doors and the foundation that we are working on so hard at Folsom Hills. We are opening doors to a strong foundation in reading. We are every day doing SIPS instruction in the classroom, K2, and also with 3rd and 4th graders who are still struggling readers, who are needing some of the SIPS level 3 instruction. I have 8 teachers at my site who are completing letters. Letters is an intensive training, but boy, is it giving us a more detailed, fine look at reading instruction and giving some strategies in the classroom, working in small groups. We are providing a strong foundation in reading. We're opening the doors to math. We adopted this year Envision 2020. It's a new edition of our Envision program, and it's not easy. We are asking students to work harder in math than ever before. The word problems are so wordy, so when reading is incorporated into math, it is a lot of work, and we're providing a strong foundation. A little side note on that, a student came in the office today, and so when they said, Mrs. Hemrick, Ariel's here to see you. And so Ariel comes in, and I said, how can I help you? And she says, my teacher sent me here. And I said, well, what do you need? Can I help you? And, are you in trouble or what, So I said, well, Ariel, head back to class and go ask Ms. Shackley what you need, So 5 minutes later, Ariel is back. She says, I need help in multiplication. I said, oh, okay. So you want to work with multiplication? And she says, Ms. Shackley sent me here for multiplication. So I quickly think to myself, okay, I could interrupt Ms. Shackley. I don't like interrupting classrooms. I don't want to call. So I go over to the computer quick and I pull up a math multiplication chart, and Ariel sit down and I together, and I said, well, your tens. So we get a highlighter, we cross off our tens. Your twos. So we cross off the twos. We look at the patterns. About 10 minutes later, I've sent Ariel off with the task. She's going to work on these, look at the patterns, and off she goes. And so lunchtime comes around. I said to Ms. Shackley, I said, it was great seeing Ariel today. I was happy to help her with the multiplication, but, and she is dying. And she said, I was sending her, Mrs. Hemrick, she was sending her to Mrs. Frederick, our intervention teachers, for help in math. So Ariel and I had a nice time together. So all means all in math. We're going to get those foundations down, and we are working really hard to open the doors to math instruction. I just cut a little piece here for where this is our collective data that we're using this year in Google Docs, and 3 times a year we're putting our data in. And I just wanted to let you know that years ago, not too long ago actually, a teacher would come to me and would say, I'm concerned about Susie. And Susie, she can't read. She just can't do it. And she's struggling. And that our conversation would kind of go from there. Fast forward. Teacher comes in now, says, I'm concerned about Susie. I say, great. And as she's starting to talk, I'm already pulling up the Google Doc. I'm already pulling up the sheet, and I'm looking at Susie's data across. And our conversation now goes like this. Susie only knows 10 of the 26 letter sounds. I'm really concerned. At this point, she only knows 5 of the 21 sight words she should know in kindergarten, and we're starting to blend, and she cannot blend the CVC words. Our conversations are completely centered around data. There's no more opinion. There's no more subjective in conversation. It is fact, it is based on the data. When we have meetings with parents, we can look at growth and we can say, we're seeing growth, perhaps it's not enough. So everything is housed 3 times a year. We are collecting data, and this is a commitment that we have so that we can look at growth over time. We're opening a door to a strong foundation in social emotional learning. This is Eliana in this picture. Eliana was lucky enough to come to Folsom Middle School for our LCAP data walk. Her parent brought her, and at first I thought, oh, poor Eliana, she's gonna be bored. Well, so we start talking at the table, and someone asked about second step, parent. And I just happened to look at Eliana. I said, Eliana, maybe you can answer this for us. So this is quote unquote from Eliana. She says, second step is a program where you learn about growth mindset and how to have a positive one. I thought, Eliana, I couldn't have said it better. Growth mindset was a goal this year. When we looked at our panorama data, we were low in growth mindset, and we've been doing specific lessons to work with growth mindset. We also do lessons with empathy, lesson a week, and our students are better for it and working together and are happier because of our work with Second Step. We are opening the door for a strong foundation for professional learning communities. I can't tell you this year how valuable the time is that when we are allowed to collaborate on Thursdays at 1:15. Students are out at 1:15. By 1:30, students are in grade level collaboration together. It looks something like this. Let me go back. In the past, if collaboration time was given or collaboration, it might have been like, hey, you go make 30 copies. I'm gonna go prep this. You take care of that, and we'll meet back later, and I'll give you your stuff. When we have collaboration time now, this is what it looks like. These are 2 teachers sitting together. They are side by side. Their heads are usually down. You can see in front, it's hard to tell, but that's a math test. They're looking at the math test together. They're talking about what went well. Why did your students score this? Help me with this. Not only that, but I want to point out in this picture that this is, on the left, a brand new teacher. Never taught before. This is her first year. She's doing an outstanding job, but she's new, and she needs a lot of support. Next to her is a teacher who's been teaching quite some time. She's an amazing, fantastic mentor. They happen to be on the same grade level together. They collaborate. Teacher retention is so vital right now. We need good teachers in our classrooms. And the common planning time allows for that time together, not only to talk about students, but talk about what's going well and what's not going well for the teachers. I can't tell you how valuable our time has been. It has been a long time coming. The elementary has had common planning time. We have it this year, and we are using it to its fullest. I want to just kind of come to an end shortly and tell you that aside from the academics that we have at school, we have a strong foundation. We're opening doors for the arts. We are fortunate at Folsom Hills to have a strong PTA and parent association. They recently purchased a new kiln. We have parents who come into classrooms. They teach ceramics. There's ceramics lessons going on. There is another group of parents who are doing fine arts mini lessons, FAME, in classrooms. We have our teachers I referred to earlier who are doing a production on stage and getting our kids on stage, because we are here to educate the whole child. And some of the children excel at the fine arts more than they do in the classroom, and it's important that we incorporate it all. Before I conclude today, I want to just tell you that although we're working on academics, we're really working on connecting to our children and to our family and to our community. Today, I was working on some things, and I'd like to think I work hard, but every once in a while I'm like, I need a break, or I don't want to do this, I need kids. So I march out of this office today, and as I'm coming around the corner, there's one in tears. I say, hey, what's up? She forgot her lunch in the classroom. I'll get your lunch for you, come on. Running late today, she wasn't prepared, or unorganized, so we're going to get her lunch, and I'm talking about, well, tomorrow you need to put your backpack by your door, put your shoes there, it's gonna rain, get ready. As we're getting her lunch, coming around the corner, one of our little students lost his mom in December. He's sitting on a bench, so I bid farewell, Madam my lunch kid. I sit on the lunch and I scoop him up, and we just put our heads together, and we just sit. We don't even say anything. We're watching the playground. As I'm watching the playground, there's a fierce game of Foursquare going on, and we're watching that Foursquare going on, and it's Mason, this one little guy, he's winning, he's going around in the circle, and Mason is a struggling learner. He doesn't always do well in the classroom, but he was whooping it at that Foursquare game. The Foursquare game ended, and half the kids were saying, like, Mason, it's called Go Around the World. So Mason ran around the world. He won the 4-score game. And half the kids are like saying, you're out, you're out, you're out, to all the kids. Well, Mason was high-fiving and saying, good game, good game, good game. And I thought to myself, Mason's going to be just fine. He might not be our smartest student. He might not be at the top of the class, but Mason has more than a lot of our other kids have in that sportsmanship and that grit that he was showing out there in that game. So I want to thank you for being here tonight, and I want to invite any of you anytime to our schools. If you are having a bad day, or if you're wondering what are we doing here, if there's a tough conversation or things that are going on, come see what's happening. When I walked out that door today, I was more than happy to help those kids. By the time I made a loop around school, I was smiling. I went back in the office and I was happy to get back to work. But it's about the connections, it's about our families, and it's about our students and providing that strong foundation. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, I did have one more thing. I'm sorry. I forgot to tell you back there when I was talking about Eliana and our social emotional learning. One thing I wanted to tell you is it's kind of impressive. Coming out post-pandemic, our 5th graders take the Healthy Kids survey every year, and we just got our results back. And so our 5th graders were in the thick of pandemic when it was happening, so coming out of that right now. But I was pretty impressed with the results that at Folsom Hills, 83% of our students feel like they have a caring adult at school, and 92% of our students feel safe. And I just wanted to share that with you tonight.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Questions?
I just had one. When's your Jungle Book play?
Yeah, it is. I will get that. I will give you the exact date. It is a Thursday. I want to say April 28th, but I can confirm that 100%.
Any other questions? Well, that was a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you.
Yes.
And next, we have staff presentations. Superintendent.
Yes, actually, we have 2 staff presentations tonight, but we're going to start with Dr. Beverly Young and invite her to the podium. She's the executive director of the Carlston Family Foundation, and they present an award to a former teacher or a current teacher who has received outstanding status. And I'm not going to steal her thunder. I'm going to let Dr. Young go ahead and introduce our teacher who was nominated and what she's receiving.
Great, thank you so much. You're right, we were the Carlston Family Foundation. Up until January this year, we became the Above and Beyond organization. That's why you all have one of our little coffee cups, just so you'll remember who we are. Above and Beyond has been around about 20 years. We changed our name this year to reflect the phrase that is most commonly used to describe these teachers by their former students, by their colleagues, by their principals, as someone who goes above and beyond for their students. Our process is our teacher award winners have to be nominated by a former student, someone who has gone on to college or has graduated from college, and the criteria is a teacher who changed their life. We talk to that student, we talk to the school principal, we talk to teacher colleagues, school counselors, and then we try to nominate as many additional former students as we can, all to talk about how this teacher is changing lives. Once we get to that stage, then we let the teacher know that we're all talking about them, and I go out and see them at their school, spend a day with them. We narrow it down to 10 teachers across the state. Our board then selects 5, only 5, to win for the year. Those 5 each win $15,000 for their own use, and they win $5,000 additional to be spent at their school. We have a banquet in November where we bring the teachers, we bring their student nominators, we bring their families, and we bring our 90-some former winners all to a banquet in November where they spend a day in professional development, but at the banquet is when the teacher gets to find out who the student is. We keep that a secret until the student makes the speech telling all of us how this teacher changed their lives. So, good news and bad news. You had a wonderful, outstanding teacher here in Folsom, Cordova, Ms. Debbie Andrus. And Debbie left. She's now down in Hemet. But we originally saw Debbie when she was teaching here in Cordova. She won this award at our banquet in November. And Debbie has the option of where she wants to and how she wants to spend her $5,000 school award. And Debbie has elected to spend it at Cordova. and I'll let you tell her how. But before, it'll let you tell them how you'd like to direct it. I want to just tell you a couple things from Debbie's file, which I brought to give to her tonight, as well as her check. The kind of things her students, both here from Cordova and at her current school, said about her when we talked about them. She cares for us as individuals, not just as students. Miss Andrus truly believes in me. She totally prepared me for my college work. She was a bright light in my sophomore year. The very best teacher I've ever had, college included. Like a second mother to my whole family. And her principals, and because she changed schools, I talked to more than one of her principals. Not just the gold standard, she's the platinum standard as a teacher. The most effective and beloved teacher. I've never seen an entire school show so much respect for a teacher. Debbie is truly an amazing teacher. I got to go see her teach Shakespeare to a high school group of newcomer students. One of the best lessons I've ever seen. It was amazing. So I want to introduce Debbie to you, but I also want to acknowledge that the student who nominated her, Wendy Martinez, who went to Cordova High School, is here. Wendy went on to graduate from Sac State. She's now a student in McGeorge Law. She's going to be an attorney. And she came tonight to support Miss Andrus, even though she has a midterm tomorrow. I also want to acknowledge two of our foundation supporters, well, one supporter, but two representatives. Back here, Josh Smith, who's a vice president from Schools First Federal Credit Union in the School and Community Relations, and his associate, Holly Brown, who's a specialist in the same division. Schools First is Above and Beyond's new partner and supports us in these awards to teachers and in specifically our award to Debbie and her gift to Cordova. So Debbie, do you want to come and tell them about what you plan to do? And by the way, I asked her to bring her award, and I always make a point of telling at these school board meetings that this $5,000 for the school is up to the teacher how it's spent, not the school board, not the principal, anybody else. So Debbie, here you go. You want to say anything? Here's your file.
Thank you. You come up with me.
Yes, okay, I am here.
All right, so I just want to say thank you so much for having us tonight. I spent 10 years at Mills Middle School and then 4 years at Cordova High and then 3 years in El Centro. And now I'm at Hemet High School where I'm the ELD site lead there. And I absolutely love it. And we have some work to do there. And so it's good that I'm there. That's all I want to say. But I will say that my heart is here. I spent the afternoon at Cordova High with my colleagues, and it's just home. It's home for me. And we raised our kids here, all 4 kids, and we really do love this school district and the staff and the families and the students. And I just feel so blessed. I feel like not only did my children grow up here, but I grew up here too. And so this is one of my beloved, Miss Wendy. And when she nominated for this award for me, it was really fun to reconnect with her in the Bay Area that November night and to see her grown up and see what she's doing. And it's these moments as a teacher that you really don't understand the impact that you can have with students in your life. And it was such a joy to do this with you. Mm-hmm. And so when I got the $5,000, because again, this would be my 3rd school that I've been going through. And so I really could have chose anywhere to give it to. But I was talking to Wendy and I said, Wendy, I really want to do you honor because you gave so much honor to me. And Wendy started something at Cordova High that I'll let you can share. And so we decided we wanted to donate our money to this program.
So, hello, board. It is great to be here, especially without me yelling at you guys. It is great to see you all. I know you've heard so much from me this year. But first, I would like to say to Miss Andrus that she is truly, truly an incredible, life-changing teacher. And she did not just only raise her children here, she raised all of us as well. Because, trust me, she raised me. I was in that classroom. If it wasn't with her, it was with him over there. And I am sure they are so glad that I am off bothering other teachers now. But what we are honoring tonight is something that I was so honored to be a part of when I was in ASB. With our team, we actually started this project called a special needs prom. Many of our special education students are not allowed to go to regular prom because the noises are too loud or it's just a lot of things that can go wrong. And so we decided together as an ASB team that we wanted to change this. So we started a special needs prom where we get to roll out a nice fancy red carpet. We get to crown everyone, and everyone is a king and queen that night. It is so much fun. It truly is probably one of the best experiences at Cordova. We get constant donations and volunteers and everyone wanting to be a part of this amazing, joyful night of seeing, every student get that experience of having that inclusivity. And so when Miss Andrews told me about her idea, I started bawling because this is something that we have worked so hard on. And even though I graduated, let's not say what year, it is still so great that it is still continuing to happen and that we can continue to help out in some type of way. So thank you, Miss Andrews.
And I also want to share, Mr. Hayden is not able to be here tonight. They just finished a very intense WASC meeting, and I said he needed to take out his lovely wife. So I gave him permission not to be here tonight, and I did stop by the school and got a picture with him today. And he explained to me that the special prom has grown even more so than just their prom. Now students are feeling so good about the special prom that they're going to other dances. So our special students are coming to the dances, and they're closing down the dances. So other students are going home and they're staying. And what we love about our special prom is that it's not just for the students, but it's for the families to come to also. And I know Mr. Krieger, he's always looking for donations because they do formal pictures and they have a really fun photo booth and they have food that they feed the kids and they always have a special theme. And so Wendy and I wanted to give this money to him so he wouldn't have to worry about money, at least for this year. So Mr. Krieger, would you please come up? I wanted like a publisher clearinghouse pen, so he made it happen with his print shop. So we wanted to give this to Mr. Krieger and your students in behalf of Wendy and myself at Cordova High to have a wonderful year with your special prom. So come on.
Yes.
Let's do a photo.
Actually, if it's okay, can the board join you for a photo? Okay.
Oh, thank God. I'm just zoned in on that. Like, okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Rochelle, thank you.
By the way, the prom this year is on the 17th. It's on St. Patrick's Day. It's St. Patrick's Day Eve. If anyone's come and hang out, have fun with the kids. Good time.
Well, that was a wonderful presentation. Thank you. And congratulations.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
If I can make a comment
Sure.
on that. Congratulations. And Josh, I told you I owed you a check. Do I have to still pay now? Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll get it to you. But I'm going to tell you by experience, Gene and I have been to this event, and it is amazing to see those kids out having so much fun. And I mean, they'll drag you out there to dance and everything. So, you know, if you have an opportunity to go, You should. It's a lot of fun, and like I said, these kids are amazing. So I will be there with Jean, and we'll have our dancing shoes. Well, she'll have her dancing shoes on because I can't dance. But do you? Please don't show that. But seriously, if you all have a chance to go out there, please come out and support them. Like I said, you can just see the excitement on their face, and I mean, it just makes you feel good. It makes you feel really good. So, see you on the 17th. All right, and I'll Venmo you, Cash App, or whatever. I'll still pay.
Yeah.
Yay! All right.
Board Member Lorette?
Yeah, and I just wanted to say that if you've met Debbie Andrus, she hasn't just changed students' lives, she changes people's lives because that's just the type of person that she is. My daughter had her as a teacher and, huge impact. And just wanted to say to Wendy and their group from ASB, I appreciate all the work that you guys have put in and what an amazing legacy to when you start something, you always hope that it moves on. And the fact that it's been able to continue just really speaks to like the passion that you guys had when you put that together. So thank you for your work on that.
I also just wanted to acknowledge, Wendy, you are so inspiring. Number one inspiration. Thank you for all you do. And Miss Andrews, thank you so much. I absolutely love this event, and I am so excited for that next week. So thank you.
All right. All right, and we have a second recognition. Superintendent?
We do. This is a fun evening, and at this moment, we get to honor Mr. Curtis Gazer, who was recently recognized as National Music Educator of the Year for the John Laporta Awards. This is a huge distinction because this is a National Music Educator of the Year award. And many of us have had the pleasure of hearing Curtis's students perform. And to share a little bit of that with us tonight, he's brought his jazz choir here. And before you all leave, we'll want to come down and take a picture with you all as well. But Mr. Gazer, congratulations, and please come on up.
Thank you. Getting it ready. I think we'll just stay.
Are you? Oh, this is awesome. That's all right. Oh man. Don't be nervous.
I'm telling you, I was going to sound back here.
Please excuse me. You know me.
So this year, this is our jazz choir course, and we just found out today, actually, that the jazz choir and the jazz band won the best high school jazz group in the country.
What?
Oh, my goodness. That's fantastic.
We are doing a fundraiser. We got to push. Doing a fundraiser on March 24th. We're doing the wine and jazz event. It's in Old Folsom. It's on stage. It's outside. We're praying that the rain goes away for that, but we'd love to have you all out Friday night. It starts at 6 o'clock. All the bands and the jazz choir will also perform at night. So this year we kind of backed up. We always try to do some pop stuff that have a jazz influence, but we went back to just do real old standards. So we have a couple short ones for you. This one is entitled I'm Old Fashioned.
I how it's got to be, as long as you agree to stay old-fashioned with me. I'm old-fashioned, I love the moonlight, I love the old-fashioned days. Just like the sound of rain upon my window, stars on that April day. This year's fancies are just passing, fancies beside the sighs, holding hands, ease my heart understands. I'm old-fashioned, but I don't mind it. It's how it's got to be, as long as you agree to stay old-fashioned. With me.
All right, now we'll close our presentation with the great Body and Soul, and this is from Esperanza Spalding, great jazz artist. This is taken from her, and then I have an arranger who arranges it for us. But while she's calling this up, I thought I'd take the opportunity, this is probably my last board meeting, because I'm retiring in May, and after 39 years, I can't thank this district and all that's been involved to allow us to flourish in the arts. And I never thought the grass was greener anywhere else, and I still believe it never was. And that's why I stay here, and it truly has been a rewarding career. And I know you guys don't always get positive things said your way, but I consider it a blessing to be in this district for so long. So thought I'd say that before they sing. Okay, you ready? All right.
My heart is sad and lonely. For you I sigh, for you, dear, only. Why haven't you seen it? I'm all for you, body and soul. I spend my days longing and wondering why it's me you're wronging. I tell you I mean it. I'm all for you, body and soul. I can't believe it's hard to conceive it that you turn away romance. Are you pretending? Looks like the ending, unless I could have one more chance to prove
Before you leave, though, we would like to say thank you to these amazing students. We feel so fortunate to have this personal performance in front of us by, again, an award-winning jazz choir, and we wish you well and everything that's coming up for the rest of this year. We also want to thank your amazing teacher, Mr. Curtis Gazer, for the 39 years he has committed to Folsom Cordova. And as you see in the picture up here, this is a picture of Mr. Gazer being recognized at the National Jazz Educator of the Year Award for the John LaPorter Award. So the Folsom Cordova Unified School District would also like to say thank you and congratulations, and we'd love to take a picture with you, Curtis.
Definitely, hold on, one moment. That podium gets in my way. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much.
Just like so confident.
I know.
Wow, so far I like this school board meeting. Can we continue the music and presentations? That's great. Thank you very much. That was just so beautiful. Thank you for the performance. All right, that takes us to public comments, item number 8. Before we do, and by the way, public comment, this is the place on the agenda where members of the public are welcome to speak to the board on items that are not on the agenda. If you have an item that is on the agenda, you can speak during that agenda item. So we'll have individual public comments for each agenda item. So if it's not on the agenda, this would be the time. And Superintendent, I know there's been a lot of emails that the board has received on the issue of Spanish language. I think you had a couple of remarks you wanted to provide first, correct?
Yes, and first of all, we want to acknowledge all of those that did share comments with the board and myself about the Spanish teachers and the challenge we've had in finding Spanish teachers to teach our middle school and high school classes in our district. We're experiencing a challenge that's also being experienced throughout school districts in the state of California. However, we're not giving up. We are proactively recruiting qualified Spanish teachers. We're attending hiring fairs throughout the state and the nation and offering signing bonuses. And our first priority for staffing will be placing those teachers at the high school because those students are earning A through G credits. And then we're seeking alternate options, such as online Spanish elective programs at our middle schools, but we are prioritizing those students who took Spanish 1A this year, that they would be receiving 1B next year, and we're hoping to be able to go beyond that. But we just want our community to know that it's not a lack of budget or a lack of desire. It's really a lack of teacher availability. But as I said, we are going to be very ambitious and proactive and try to hire those teachers and offer those students that elective before we start next school year.
Thank you. All right, I have a comment card from Peter Constant. Welcome.
Good evening, board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. That was awesome. I got a free performance as well. So my name is Peter Constant. I'm from William Jessup University in Rockland. I'm the student body president there of the student government, and I'm super excited to be here to invite the district to Jessup for our first ever local high school leadership conference. It's on April 14th from 1 to 4 p.m. We are targeting high school students in leadership or student government classes to go to teach leadership principles, effective communication, team building, and small group dynamics. We're super excited to hopefully unify school districts across the region. We've invited Roseville Joint Union, Rockland, Western Placer, Placer Union, San Juan, Center, and Twin Rivers, and now we're inviting Folsom Cordova. We're super excited to be bringing in schools from the area to be able to collaborate with one another and be able to receive education from some of the finest educators in the region. Our master's program in leadership is super excited to be able to share to high schoolers and be able to educate them to help them go forth into their college and be prepared when they go. Our student government is super excited to be partnering with the public policy department. The chair of the department is none other than my dad, who is the president of Roseville Joint Union School District. We will be the keynote speakers, and we're super excited to be bringing in students. This is free for all students, and we're also welcoming the board to come and collaborate and to be able to meet other school board members from all districts in the region to be able to collaborate and work together to hopefully unify the region in times where we're so far apart from everyone. We just want to bring everyone together to be able to be educated together and to just have good camaraderie. I will be sending an email out as soon as I get back to Rockland, but I have a bunch of flyers for the district. I'll send an email to everybody and the high school teachers. If you guys have any questions, my email is on there as well, and my phone number will be in the email. So I don't know who I can give these to.
Here. Thank you so much.
And if any parents are looking for a paper as well, I have some extras. But we're super excited to bring the district in. We're looking for a commitment in about two to 3 weeks. And yeah, so I don't know if you guys can ask any questions now, if there's any clarifying, but.
We can't ask questions during public comment, but staff will follow up if they have any questions.
Okay, awesome. And if any of the board would like to come to Jessup for a tour or to have a lunch in our award-winning cafeteria, you guys are more than welcome to come, and we'd be happy to host you guys. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. And online, any? No, Mr. Reed. No, okay. Then we will go to reports of district organizations, and we'll start off with the Student Advisory Board.
Our recent SAB meeting was last week, where we held our 4th EPIC session that encompassed microaggressions and our individual experiences with them on campus. And then we also finalized a state seal of biliteracy promotional video that we were working on. So majority of our SAB students were in that video. It will be distributed across all media in an effort to raise an awareness of the opportunity among all underclassmen for the state seal of biliteracy. And then following that, we continue to make plans for our International Night on April 26th, which is approaching us very soon. I also want to thank Dr. Kaligian for attending all of our meetings in support of our students. So that's it.
Thank you.
And just one other comment, student board member applications will be released at the end of the month, as well as student advisory board representative applications. So we'll be pushing those heavily, and hopefully we'll have some great applicants. Thank you.
And when's the election?
Let me pull up the date. I think it's in April. Let's see, I have it. The week of April 24th.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right, next we have the California School Employees Association. Welcome.
Good evening, all. Thank you for everything you do. Tonight, I don't have much to report, but I am here to report that there's been concern that morale has been low across the district. And as a result, we have sent a survey out over the past couple weeks to evaluate morale and possibly cure it in the future. That's it for now. As soon as I have results and more information, I will be back. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Folsom Cordova Education Association. Welcome, Angelica.
Good evening. Wow, what a special board meeting tonight. I have just a very short report, and I just want to say thank you again to Dr. Huber for sending me to the PLC conference last week. What a just game-changing experience it was. I wish that every teacher in our district could have the opportunity to go. I know we've sent many, and that's not possible, but it would just be amazing for everybody to experience that. And I mean, we were in the presence of excellence with the presenters. We had Timothy Kanold, which was just, that was really exciting after reading Heart and being inspired and getting to hear him speak and share some of his personal stories. And of course, Mike Mattos is just the god of PLC. So it was an amazing experience, and it really tacks on to everything Mrs. Hemrick was saying earlier with common planning time. That was the goal of mine coming into this position, and it may have taken 7 years, but at least I'm going out knowing that that's in place. And we can just keep building on that with our PLCs. I think it's so important for our teachers and our students because it gives the teachers that professional time to connect and to do all the tasks and make the learning better for our students. So I just want to say thank you again and just let you all know that it was a great experience if any of you ever have the chance to attend as well. So that's it for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Was the Folsom Hills presentation, was that the?
Yes, it was.
It was, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then District English Learner Advisory Committee.
We have no report tonight.
No report.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to the consent agenda. Are there any items that folks want to pull off the agenda?
Could I pull item 12, Q, please?
Q, all right, item Q. Any others? Actually, I have.
I'd like to pull item Y.
Item Y, okay. Actually, I had a quick question on item C, so I'd like to pull that one as well. So with the exception of items C, Q, and Y, is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark.
A second.
Second by Mr. Hui. Superintendent, take the roll, please.
Yes, Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava? Aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries by vote. Thank you.
All right, first one is approve the Crowell LLP contract for audit services. I just had a real quick question. How often, or how long have we been with Crowell, and how often do we change audit firms?
Mr. Martin will be able to respond to that.
I will have to look that up. They've been in place prior to my coming to the district.
Okay.
We are planning next year to go out RFP for audit services again, but we have to rotate partners at least every 6 years as part of that. But I can provide how long Crow has been our specific auditor, so.
Okay. Yeah, so the best practice is internal auditors, or the representative from the firm is every 6 years, and.
The lead partner is normally a rotation of every 6 years, yes.
Okay.
So.
And then I assume Crow would be able to submit for the RFP as well.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
we were planning to do it earlier this year, but we had some staffing situations that didn't allow us to go out at that time, so we just wanted to hold tight for another year.
It's been a busy year.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I was curious about. So thank you on that. We can, I guess, should we entertain them separately as a motion or together?
It depends. Well, on mine, I'm just pulling it off the agenda, so that one would be just a recommendation to move it to the following meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, all right, well, why don't we do it individually? Is there a motion to approve item C?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Hui, second.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Larrett. Superintendent? take
Yes,
the roll.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next item is Q, approve job descriptions and salary schedules.
Yeah, I just had a specific question on the equity leader job description. She's fast on the computer. So specifically when I was looking under the distinguished characteristics, willing to engage in courageous conversations and tasks related to topics of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, ability, class, sexual identity, et cetera. When we're saying courageous conversations, do we have like a framework training that we are working with specifically? Are we including parents in those conversations? Just needed some clarifying information on that.
Mr. Ogden?
To be an equity leader, we send them through a training in the summer. So all of our equity leaders go through a training, 1 week training. And so that's part of the training that we do.
What does that mean, though? I guess that's a good question. What does that bullet point exactly mean?
Well, I think as an equity leader, one of the things they're charged with, which perhaps is different than, your typical job in the district, is sometimes you're engaging in some conversations with people on topics, and we give you some background and training on how to discuss those topics with students and staff.
And part of that is the EPIC training that we shared at our board study session probably a year and a half ago. It's using that compassionate dialogue and the RIR protocol, which is, you recognize when you hear or see something that doesn't seem right, and you interrupt, and then you repair the relationship. So there's training that the leaders from EPIC Education have been using with our equity leaders and with all of our leadership and management team as well. And so our equity leaders are practicing that in their role as equity leaders at the school site, but they also come to our leadership meetings and practicing those protocols with us. So that's another example of what that could look like.
Okay.
Was that all you had?
Yeah,
Okay.
Are parents engaged in some of these conversations as well? Do the equity leaders ever engage with like families and things like that as well? Or how does that engagement kind of happen?
And maybe Dr. Huber can speak to that a little bit more.
Usually the equity leaders mostly work with faculty, staff, and students, but I'm sure if there was ever a situation where, a parent either had a question or, a parent was involved in a conversation, then an equity leader might be asked to also be part of that conversation for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Of course.
Actually, as I'm looking at this, I have maybe 1 or 2 questions. The first is the adjective courageous. I don't know if that's unusual to have adjectives in job descriptions, isn't it?
I believe that's actually directly from the EPIC training is how to have courageous conversations. That's something they're specifically trained in. So it is the adjective that's used in the training that they receive.
All right. And I apologize, I don't know what non-this is. Can someone, what's the tragedy of non-this?
Non-ness is another way to describe marginalized groups who may feel invisible, that they're not seen, they're not heard, they're not treated the same as those that, may not be a marginalized group. So we are actually going through that training module this coming Monday, and that was my understanding of non-ness. But I think there's a lot of examples we could think of as well where, we might have students or even faculty or parents that might feel that way, and our equity leaders help with that as well.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any other questions on this one? No? All right, is there a motion?
A motion.
Motion by Board Member Lorette. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Board Member Lofthouse. Superintendent?
Yes, Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
And then item Y, just to confirm, you're having that off of the agenda for a future agenda?
Yes, we'll have it come to the next agenda, but we'll proceed it with a public hearing, which is kind of a technicality, but we didn't want to take the action before we did that piece. So with that, we'd like to pull that off the consent agenda tonight.
Okay, all right, wonderful. Let's see, any introductions tonight?
Did we need to take an action on pulling that off the agenda?
Yeah, why not? Sure. Is there a motion to pull agenda item Y off and put it on a future agenda item, or a future agenda?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark,
I'll second.
by Ms. Perez. Superintendent?
Yes, Ms. Perez.
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava.
Aye.
Mr. Clark.
Aye.
Mr. Hui.
Aye.
Ms. Larrett.
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse.
Aye.
Mr. Reed.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, now, is there any introduction?
Yes, we do have an introduction. The board did approve the personnel action form tonight, and we are very pleased to announce a new member of our team, Ms. Carmelita Goldsby, as the new assistant principal for Rancho Cordova Elementary, starting in the 23-24 school year. So congratulations, Carmelita. She'll come up to the podium in just a minute, but let me share a little bit of background. Carmelita has 23 years of experience in education. She comes to us with a wealth of knowledge and expertise, having previously worked as a principal at Lodi Unified School District and Washington Unified School District. And she recounts that one of her greatest leadership moments was leading her school to successfully earn a gold award from the California PBIS Coalition in 2022. She has a proven track record of success in improving student achievement and promoting a positive school culture, serving students from diverse cultures, languages, and economic backgrounds. In addition to her impressive qualifications, Ms. Goldby is also fluent in Spanish, which will undoubtedly be an asset to our diverse community. She is a resident of Rancho Cordova, and she is very excited to be working in her hometown. So we are excited to welcome Carmelita Goldsby to Team FCUSD, and we look forward to working with her to continue to provide the best education to our students. So welcome again, Carmelita.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Collegian. I am just thrilled to be here. This is just an honor to serve in my hometown of Rancho Cordova. It's just has been a dream of mine. And in Spanish, gracias por esta oportunidad de trabajar y servir en la ciudad donde vivo, de Rancho Cordova. I am just thrilled. So thank you, President of our Board of Education, members of our Board of Education for this opportunity. And I do have my family here, all sitting behind me. They reside here in Folsom and Atomas. They're a big support to me. So thank you so much.
Welcome and congratulations.
Well, welcome to our district and welcome your family as well. So thank you very much. All right. Let's see. That was the only introduction tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to agenda item 11, discussion and action. Let's see, the first one is approve 2022-2023 second interim financial report for period ending January 31st, 2023 with positive certification. Superintendent.
Well, that's always a great way to introduce our second interim budget with a positive certification, and we can thank Mr. Sean Martin and his team, led by Linda Thurlow and the rest of the fiscal services team. But I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Martin to share some of the highlights of our second interim budget report.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, we're excited. Second interim is looking better than first interim. It's going in a positive direction. We've gotten some. Obviously, the biggest change will be the governor's budget came out in January, which will have an impact because the governor's projecting a COLA of over 8%. And at first interim, we were looking at a lower number, around 5%. And so that obviously will help with some of the deficit spending that we were projecting in the out years. And so we'll just kind of walk through it. At this point, we always talk about the fact that The budget is built upon the previous budget, so we always look at what we looked at from first interim and what has changed since then for second interim. So we're always building on. And if at any point you ever have questions or you want to go backwards and look at something, we can always discuss. We are looking at information through the lens of January 31st, so anything that came in after that date probably won't be reflective in the budget. And then we are looking at a positive certification, meaning we can meet our financial obligations and have our 3% reserve for the current year and 2 future years. And so we'll talk through some of the big changes here. On this very first slide, we actually have some positives in the sense that if you look at the 23-24 and 24-25 bars, those are actually higher than what we projected at first interim, meaning we are projecting a higher enrollment, which is a great thing. However, believe it or not, the red line, which is our funded attendance, is lower. And the reason for that is we have consistently seen attendance rates not rebounding to pre-COVID levels. We are averaging approximately about a little under 94%, and we have historically been closer to 95, almost 96%. So that's about a 2% shift, right? And that's about a $4 million loss in ADA potentially if we weren't using a 3-year average. We're using a 3-year average, so it really only impacts us for a third of that loss, but it is something we're keeping in mind. And so at first interim, I was projecting ADA or attendance based off of going back to more of a historical rate of 95%, which we still felt was relatively conservative. But now that we've actually seen our first reporting period, which is the P1 attendance reporting, and seen where our rates are, we're now projecting for the out years 94 to be a little more conservative. Now, obviously, if we can get back up to 95.8, that would be great. That would maybe potentially even allow us to use current year ADA versus a 3-year prior year average. But there's just a lot of unknowns still. We don't know if this is the new normal, that attendance rates will be lower or not. I know that we've shared with you already some of the attendance programs that we did, the 20-day challenge. I know we're working as a team with Mr. Meyer's department and Ed Services about maybe other outreach programs we can do for attendance, because obviously if we can get those kids back, that brings additional revenues, but also allows us to then have more resources for services for those students. So it goes hand in hand. So this is an area we're obviously keeping. We are right in line with what we're seeing across the state. In fact, the Legislative Analyst's Office and the Governor's proposal both project less cost to the state because attendance rates have been so low. So they're lowering their expectation of how much money they have to put out for at least the attendance portion. Continuing on, here's our LCFF formula. You guys have seen this before. I just include this in here. Nothing too dramatic in here. We will talk in a minute about revenue changes, and so I'll speak to the fact that we do see an additional add-on in or increase in our supplemental percentage. We did identify, I think I shared before, we did a campaign and we were able to identify additional students that brought in almost $1 million in additional supplemental revenue that we would not have received if we didn't have that campaign. So we're very excited about that. And on this next slide, you can see this here. We have revenues broken down by unrestricted and restricted categories, as we always do. On the unrestricted side, you do see that LCFF increase of about $1 million. Other state revenues are just smaller adjustments. On the restricted revenue side, you actually do see a negative there on the federal side. We're just adjusting because our COVID expenditures are remaining SR2 and $3. We don't feel like we're going to spend all of those dollars this year. We're actually rolling some of those dollars over next year to finish up some HVAC projects that had been identified with those dollars. Because remember, one of the things we could do is air purification, air filtration, and so we've been replacing outdated HVAC systems on our campuses. Continuing on, you do see a significant increase in other state income on the restricted side. That's because there were two funding sources that the governor, it wasn't the governor, they actually signed into budget that we didn't include at first interim because there were some questions about exactly the final allocations for those. So we went ahead and put them in, but I'm glad we actually did wait for second interim because the art, music, and instructional materials grant was supposed to be closer to $12 million. In the governor's proposal at January, he is actually recommending that allocation get cut by about a third. He's using that savings to then balance the budget for 23-24, which is very unique. We've never seen a formula where we've received an allocation, the budget's been approved, especially on a one-time grant, and then come back after the fact and reduce it to such a level, or reduce it at all, to be honest. And so this is an ongoing conversation with all of the stakeholder groups, that this is not normally how they balance the budget, especially because he's wanting to use one-time monies, about I forget how many billions of dollars it ends up that he actually ended up cutting from the entire program. But he's trying to use that then to balance the budget and fully fund the COLA. And so that's a big, big concern for us, because one of the things we always talk about is we don't use one-time money for ongoing expenses, because that COLA increase will be out there the next year, and economically right now it's not looking great for the next couple of years. In fact, the LAO analyst's office project that the governor's proposal is about $5 billion short in this for 23-24, and another $5 billion for the next year. And so there are concerns about the ability to fully support all of the plans that the governor is proposing. And so that's why for 23-24, when we look at it, the multi-year will look good. We do have a significant COLA, but we do have a lot of questions about whether that's truly going to be fundable or not. Now, there are some pieces in place that will hopefully offset that concern. And I was actually in a meeting with the Department of Finance folks who actually work for the governor. And what they said is that they see the forecast not as severe. And then they also see the fact that we have reserves, one-time monies, then the rainy day fund and some other funds that they think will tide potentially the budget over in the out years. So, but we on the accounting side always have concerns when you start doing those kind of systems to balance the budget with ongoing needs. So and I'll talk about that a little further in the multi-year projection. Continuing on the revenue side, I think that's pretty much the big ticket item, is that $24 million. The learning loss block grant, those are dollars being targeted specifically, again, towards learning loss. Those will be funding intervention teachers, instructional coaches, and some other pieces. And then I know Ed Services is working on a plan that will be bringing information to you. Same with the art, music, instructional materials. Because that money is very fluid, and we're still questioning whether the governor may pull even more dollars from that. We're kind of being sensitive to not allocating those out. Some districts have already spent that money, and that's why it's a big concern with regards to how those dollars are going to be ended up getting to us. So. On the expenditure side, you see some adjustments there on the certificated and classified salaries and employee benefits. Those really the big adjustments in there are the fact that we are reducing again for any open positions left in the budget. So again, what we did is an adopted budget. We budgeted all positions in position control as though they'll be fully funded, right? So it's a reflection of all costs that potentially the district could have. At first interim, we reduced any open positions by about 40%. At second interim here, we're reducing it by about 70%. And so normally those numbers are not near as significant as you're seeing here, because normally we don't have the level of open positions that we have had because of COVID, right? But as you're aware, we've been doing a lot of hiring. We feel like in the next year or so, we'll hopefully get fully staffed back up. And so when we do the multi-year projection, you'll see budgeting of assumption of full staffing again. But we're reducing the costs right now because we're now, almost, what do we got, about 3 months left of the school year. And so we're thinking that we can comfortably say those positions up to a certain point are not going to get filled. And so we have savings associated with that, at least for this 1 year. It's a one-time savings, really. Other adjustments that you see there is contracted services. You do see that there. There was a couple of big items there I wanted to note. One is the utilities. We are still seeing significant increases in our utility costs. So we're reflective of that. We thought we had captured a good chunk of increase at first interim, but they continue to go up at a high level. And, the weather this winter has been colder than we have had in past years. And so natural gas is very expensive. Electricity is obviously up as well. And so we're seeing more usage out of that. The other one I wanted to talk about is insurance costs. This was not a cost that we had on our radar specifically. So we are a member of a pool. We pool for our insurance. We are a member with Schools Insurance Authority. But on top of that, we have what's called excess coverage. And so when we have claims that exceed a certain threshold, we buy this insurance, and we are in a pool. It's called self-insurance fund. And it's school-based throughout the state of California. And we're talking about when you have large settlements and it exceeds $2 million, say, and then they'll cover maybe like $2 to $5 million or something like that. Well, most school districts are in self. And what we are seeing is because of Proposition AB 218, which was the proposition that eliminated the statute of limitations for sexual assault and molestation claims in the state of California. We have seen a huge influx of additional claims, specifically targeting school districts and other agencies. But recently there was a settlement, or not a settlement, but a claim that went down in, I believe it was in San Jose, that was excess of $100 million. And they are part of some of these pools. And there are other claims that are still pending throughout the state. What that means for us is because we are in a pool and we contribute towards it, if there is a claim against it and there isn't sufficient funds to cover it, even though these are claims from 10, 15 years, 20 plus years ago, if we were in a pool and the pool is still in existence, or the districts are still in existence that were in the pool, we have a liability or responsibility to pay back towards that pool. And so what you're seeing there is our proration of the cost on these settlements and these claims. And so this is where communication and understanding has to go out, because the legislature that passed the AB 218 was asked, how is this going to be funded? And their answer was, oh, the insurance companies will pay that. But for most school districts, almost all school districts, we are actually pooled, meaning it's our own money that does that, and then we go and buy secondary insurance. But the liability still falls on us. And when the claim exceeds our pools, then 100% of it falls on us. And so understanding that definitely these situations are horrible. We want people recognized. We want them taken care of and given the mental and all the other health services or other services they need. But at what point do you say that that's not sustainable for school districts and government agencies when something that happened maybe 20 years ago or even more recently in claims that get settled for an excess of $100 million, how does that solve their underlying issues ultimately? But then how does that impact current students in the school district? Because those are general fund dollars that will come out of the budget for us. And so what we anticipate is at some point, some school district will have to more or less go to the equivalent of insolvency and require a loan from the state, and in which case then it will come to the awareness of the legislature to the point that they will hopefully take some kind of action on this.
And which line item are you?
I'm talking about line item contracted services. It's up at the top. It's $166,000 for insurance cost is the detail on that. It's a $1.2 million increase in contracted services.
Okay.
So that's the line item that we're talking about there. So just on my soapbox for a few minutes on that one, because it's going to be an ongoing conversation, and it is going to be impactful to school districts and there is actually legislation to continue the removal of statute of limitations permanently. And so those are the concerns that we have on that, right? And so it's similar to like workers' comp, where it became unsustainable and then they had to reevaluate and create a model that met everybody's needs but had limitations to it. Is something that we would like to see in the future. So continuing on, I really went off topic on that, but I think it was a very important one. And I sit on the Schools Insurance Authority Executive Board, and so we hear a lot of conversations about how this is impacting districts, and it's going to continue to be an issue. So. You see on the restricted side, same thing there. You see adjustment to staffing. Again, open positions that are remaining unfilled, and some other adjustments to different account lines due to either recognition of activities because we have restricted funds that need to be spent, or if we're not spending them, reducing those expenditures correspondingly. So we bring all of those good things together. And you see here, going from first interim to second interim, we actually see a decrease in our deficit from about $15 million to $12 million, which is great. We knew that number would lower because we knew we had all those open positions and everything we talked about. And so this isn't unexpected. We hope that when we're all done, we'll be close to being at 10 million or under when we eliminate all, because often you do have positions that go unfilled, but we also have account strings or lines where we're assuming that we're going to fully spend supplies or site allocations or things of that nature that don't go spent. Because for perfect example, we just had the field trips that were going up to Sly Park get canceled. And so dollars that were allocated towards that, because they don't have enough staff up there at those programs, there's potentially money that's going to fall out, and then they'll use that the next year. So then it ends in the fund balance for at least 1 year. So those are kind of some of the things that happen, just all the unknowns that we do. But it is obviously moving in a positive direction there. So bringing down our ending fund balance, you can see here, it does jump quite a bit from first interim, but that's because reflective of in the restricted accounts, that more or less that increase in learning loss money and the art music, about 20, what was it, a little over 20 something, 24 million, I think, combined, that hit that restricted account, and that was a significant increase there. Continuing on onto the multi-year, you can see here, the big thing here on the revenues is you see the LCFF revenues jumping up in the out years. You see that $16 million increase in LCFF. That's primarily because of the COLA, the 8.13% COLA that is projected for 23-24. That is the governor's proposal. The Legislative Analyst Office actually has a little bit higher number, 8.4, I think, or somewhere in that neighborhood. And so we'll be keeping an eye on that. We definitely will appreciate getting a full COLA, but we have concerns about funding it using one-time monies and other concerns with the ongoing feasibility of being able to pay that at the state level. In 24-25, you also see a COLA of about 3.54%, which brings in an additional $7 million in revenue. So those are great. The federal and other state and local revenues, you see those are all negative, and that's because, again, we received a lot of one-time money. So all the COVID dollars are getting pulled out there. All of that state money that we just talked about, all that new state money that we just got, the learning loss money and the art music, we're not getting that again. So the revenue has to be decreased, and that's why the ending fund balance goes up, because as we spend it down, we have to spend it from that location. On the expenditure sides, you can see some adjustments there. The reason why you actually see a negative on the certificate salaries is because we had a significant one-time payment. We did a $2,500 payment to all staff. And so pulling that out, even though we are anticipating step and column cost increases, there actually is a reduction there on certificate. Classified actually goes up because there's so many open positions on the classified side, especially in special education. We see that when we put all those positions back in, even though there's savings because we get rid of the $2,500 payment, it's offset by cost increases associated with filling all the positions that are still open. And so those are kind of adjusting each other out a little bit. You can see all the other expenditure lines are decreasing. That's because, again, we're using categorical one-time funds to pay for projects, especially like in capital outlay, you see about an $8 million decrease there. So expenditures drop about almost $11 million there. In the next year, 24-25, because we've pulled all the one-time items out, it gives you a better reflection of what kind of stepping column is. So you can see that, between certificated, classified, employee benefits, you're almost looking at $4.5 million. That's approximately about our step and column cost. And that's an estimation, year from year, it always changes based off of the staff and what happens there. But year over year, we have that cost increase before we do anything else for any other expenditures in the district. So we always have to keep that in mind, right? Now, that doesn't have attrition, so there is some savings associated with that, where we have more senior teachers either retire or higher on the salary schedule, and we replace them by teachers lower on the salary schedule. So that would offset that some, but that's a very hard number to equate until you get closer to the timeline for it. So when you bring all of that together for multi-year, what you see there is you see 22-23 with our $12 million unrestricted deficit, but you see that deficit drop dramatically in 23-24, and that's primarily due to that 8% COLA. In 24-25, again, the COLA is hitting in that year. I do want to go back one slide just real quickly to share that something new in the governor's proposal that we had not seen before is down underneath the expenditures, you see that PERS rate. So they are projecting actually the PERS rate to increase, which we had not been anticipating that. So that 1.63% increase doesn't sound like a lot, but that equates to about a $400,000 cost increase to the district. And then we see another 1% happening in 24-25. Now, STRS has different legislative requirements, and so we don't anticipate a rate increase on that one. But when those PERS increases hit, and if we don't get COLAs or we get limited COLAs, you have to add the PERS and STRS pay rate increases plus step and column and subtract that from COLA before you figure out how much money you're actually getting. And that's what always that's what got us in trouble in the prior years when we were having to do reductions, is because of that. The revenues were not pacing with the expenditures. So we're worried about that, and hopefully growth for us as a district and attendance, getting the attendance rates back up would then get us back in line where we would have revenues exceeding expenditures, because there are concerns about that. And as you see, though, overall, the deficit is decreasing year over year, assuming that COLA, assuming only step and column. There is no salary negotiation agreements in any of those years either. So in closing, we have positive certification, still worried about enrollment and attendance, right? And so we're going to be coming with some ideas to see if we can do some programs and outreach to increase in attendance. That is our easiest and actually most accessible way for us to bring in extra revenue as the district is to increase attendance. That is one thing that potentially we can control. So all the rest is the state and students coming. The students coming is our one area where we can have an impact. So the next timeline that we're looking for is the May budget revision by the governor. I think what we're going to see is the overall state budget is not looking as good, and so the governor's projections hopefully will be more conservative. Closer in line with the Legislative Analyst's Office, and so that may impact, obviously, some of the revenue sources that we've talked about today. So, and then we'll be bringing in a revised budget to you for this year. At the same time, we bring you the budget for 23-24, which will be June. So,
Thank you. Questions from the board? No? Questions from or any public comments? Any online? All right, so back to the board. Looks like we have a motion here to approve the 22-23 second interim report. Is there a motion?
I motion.
Motion by Board Member Lorette. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion or a second by Board Member Shrivastava. Superintendent, will you take the vote?
Yeah, who made the motion?
I did.
Yeah, Ms. Lofthouse made the motion.
Oh, what did I say, Lorette? I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Shrivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to approve revised 2023-24 instructional calendar. Superintendent.
Yes, if the board recalls, back in October, we brought forward a calendar for the 23-24 school year that looked very similar to the current year that we're in. And as we are looking at neighboring districts' calendars and looking at a couple of maybe adjustments in our calendar for next year, two things stood out to us. One was to change the professional development day that is occurring in the day after spring break this year, and it was going to be on the April calendar date next year. The consensus from working with our teachers union and our staff is to move that to October for the 23-24 school year. Doesn't change the number of days. It just moves that professional development day. And then the second discussion point was to consider moving the winter break a week later because of where the Christmas holiday falls. And we realize that, that's a pretty big adjustment. So if this isn't something we're able to do this year, we could certainly consider that again for 24-25. But those are the two major changes in this revised calendar.
All right, questions from the board? Or comments?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes.
Turn that on. I suppose, Dr. Cleveland, we could always move that PD from April to October, but leave the rest of the calendar as is.
We could do that. The board could recommend that motion, and we could just make that one change if that's board's consensus.
Yeah. I mean, just my thought would be, it does seem worthwhile to pursue aligning our calendar maybe more closely with some of our neighboring districts like San Juan. So I like the idea of looking at this. It does seem like we're a bit close to next year to make this change with families already making decisions, but I would be in favor of moving that PD day if that's what teachers would prefer.
Mr. President,
Yes.
quick question, and maybe this is for Don. Would that have to be negotiated?
We talked about it at the table already, so it would work.
In the union, their position?
But you make the decision. We always go back and bargain the impacts and effects of your decisions, but this is a board decision.
Okay.
Their thoughts on, maybe, is there, let's see if there's a consensus to Mr. Hui's suggestion, which is to just consider changing the professional development day from April to October, but leaving the rest of the calendar the same?
Yeah, I would agree with him. I mean, I think based off the comments that we were getting via email with so many people already scheduling out their calendar for this next year, that trying to change the winter break is going to be probably a little bit close for this year, but I definitely think a revisit to it for the following year would be appropriate. But, we just got so many comments of people who had already scheduled out holiday breaks and things like that, that I think we would be kind of causing some hardships to families to try to make that change at this point.
Yeah, Mr. President, I agree. I think, and I had mentioned this earlier, that many families, schedule their vacation like a year in advance. And I know that some entities out there, county, state, they have to put in their vacation time like a year in advance. I know in our household, my wife has to do it. A colleague at work who works for the county has to do it. So I think it would be beneficial to go that way.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree as well. I think changing next year's calendar at this juncture, with the exception of the Professional Development Day, would probably be unfair to our families who have already made plans. But I think I would agree with Mr. Hui as well that, we did approve 2 calendars in a row, including the 24-25 calendar. I think I would like to see that one come back to the board. I mean, that one doesn't even take effect for a year and a half. I have received, and I know the board has received some comments from teachers that live in neighboring districts who would love to have their instructional calendar align with their kids' instructional calendar. I think at the very least it would be interesting to entertain the concept of, could we potentially align with some of our neighboring districts like San Juan or El Dorado County, but I think it sounds like, at least on this one, it sounds like we have a consensus that the 23-24 will leave alone with the exception of the Professional Development Day. All right, so let's check with the public. Any comments from the public in person? All right, hearing none. Any comments online?
Yes, we have one. Tony?
Tony, welcome.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
So you're a little soft.
Okay, I'll try to speak up.
That's better.
I find it a little kind of disappointing that we say that something 9 months out is going to be too far out, is too close to look at. As teachers, I think we learned from this most recent year of starting school on January 3rd, we had so many kids out for that first week because of extended vacations. And, I think it's kind of unfair to ask teachers to be on different schedules than their own children in surrounding districts for another year, but that's neither here nor there. One thing I would like asked to be considered at some point in the near future, the trends with a lot of colleges is to move the spring break away from Easter. Having 2 children in college myself, their spring break is always the same no matter where Easter falls. It's always like the second week of March, second or third week of March. And I think a lot of people who like to travel during that time, particularly people who work for the district, would like to maybe take advantage of airfares that are not jacked up in price because of the Easter holiday. And it would certainly create a much more natural break, I think, in the middle of that second term. So, and, speaking to my colleagues at FCEA, there is definitely an appetite to at least explore that in the near future. So I would just ask in the future that we, if that's something we could consider, because I know a lot of the California universities, both UCs and CSUs, are considering, are currently on this kind of like mid-March spring break. And not having it tied to Easter. So that's all.
Mr. President,
yes.
Is that, and maybe this might be another question for Don, is that something that we can possibly take a look at?
We are discussing 24-25.
Okay.
So for 24-25, we could definitely come up with some different schedules for spring.
But okay, all right, no worries.
And the benefit, I assume, of finding a stable week that we could just do every single year is because Easter moves. This would create stability that everybody knows if it's the, last week in March you have off. Is that the benefit of it?
Well, I think there's a couple of things we look at. One is balancing that time so you don't have a huge gap.
Yeah.
And, a close break between the president's weekend or extended weekend and spring break. If those are real close, then sometimes you have a real long spell after spring break. So looking at maybe something that landed in the middle might be very helpful for students and staff.
Do any of our neighboring school districts do something similar to that, or well, you can
I'd have to look.
Yeah,
So,
that's fine.
I'd have to look. But I do plan on talking to our colleagues in local districts about what they're doing in 24, 25, and see if we can't have more of an alignment that we have currently.
Okay, thank you.
And I had a quick question. Before that comes back, is there a way to survey at least our staff about preferences? Because I think when you look at a calendar, we're not going to ever make every single person happy. So if we can sort of see where the priorities fall, I think that's a better place to start with building that calendar.
I could work with both bargaining units on a survey.
Okay.
If we're going to do a survey, can we also survey the parents?
I think we could.
Great idea.
I think we could.
All right, but we're getting ahead of ourselves because we're on the 23-24. So, any other comments online? All right. So, back to the board. Do we still have a consensus?
If there's no further comment, I'll move that we change the PD from April to October and otherwise leave the calendar as is, as was approved.
All right, we have a motion from Mr. Hui. Is there a second?
Just for clarification, and I guess I'll ask Vice President Hui, what was the reason why we were doing that?
The PD change?
Yes.
From what I remember hearing is that was the teachers would rather have that in in October than in April.
Yeah, the timing of that is within the first quarter, and the time to regroup like on our PLCs and have that connection after we've done our beginning of the school year staff development is more timely in October. And that October date is one that we see in neighboring districts. It's around the Columbus Day, Monday, that typically falls. And doing it the day after spring break, we're just worried about getting everybody back. And we're calling it optional PD right now, but there's also an appetite for making that mandatory in the future too. So we'll talk about that in a future calendar.
Okay, just looking at that, yeah, October is a pretty long month.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
All right, so we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, second by Board Member Lorette. Superintendent, take the roll.
Yes, Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is adopt resolution number 03-09-23-30, change in certificated staff due to reduction or elimination of particular kinds of service. Superintendent.
Yes, this is the time of the year prior to March 15th that we would bring any resolutions to the board for a reduction of certificated staff due to elimination of particular kinds of services. And in this resolution, it is specific to a reduction to a 0.40 FTE. And as noted in the exhibit, it is for a business marketing class. And with the board's approval, that resolution will go ahead and eliminate that, and the staff member could be on the rehire list after that if they so choose.
Okay, questions from the board? All right, public comment? Online? All right, back to the board. Any motion?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we'll take Board Member Srivastava. Superintendent, take the roll.
Ms. Perez?
Aye.
Ms. Srivastava?
Aye.
Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mr. Hui?
Aye.
Ms. Larrett?
Aye.
Ms. Lofthouse?
Aye.
Mr. Reed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 12, which is discussion. The first is charter school update on the operational memorandum of understanding between Folsom Cordova Unified School District and Design Tech High School Rancho Cordova. Superintendent.
Yes, this is a discussion item because this is bringing back the conditions that were in the MOU once the charter petition was approved for New Pacific this last year. And within 120 days, there were certain commitments.
We're on design tech, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Let's start that over with Design Tech High School. I was on the next item. So with Design Tech High School, the same thing, there was an MOU that was created with requirements in that MOU. All of those have come to fruition, and I know our principal from Design Tech is here this evening. I also want to acknowledge Betty Jo Wessinger, who is probably here virtually with us. She's in Boston at a training right now, but she has worked closely with Ken Montgomery and his team to make sure all these items are in place. The one biggest change, and this was a request coming directly from Design Tech, was to postpone the opening of the school by 1 year. So the term of the MOU would be 4 years rather than 5 years. And they also submitted a request to El Dorado County's County Office of Education for their SELPA to defer a year later too. So with that, that would be one of the biggest changes, and everything else that we asked for changes or revisions through the MOU process has been fulfilled.
Okay. Was there any comments or? No? Okay. Questions from the board?
Just to clarify, I think you mentioned this, but if with that waiting 1 extra year, we're essentially, we're just moving the charter from 5 years to 4 years.
Yes.
In effect.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Can you speak to why you are postponing the opening for a year?
Hi, I'm Wendy Little, school designer for Design Tech High School, and Kim Montgomery is, I believe, joining us online. But our biggest reasons for wanting to give us a longer runway to opening is, as we've worked in the community, we want to do more co-designing with our community. It was an internal standard that we had very present in our first school launch, and we want to have more time to do that here in Rancho Cordova to make sure that our model is the strongest and most appropriate for our learning community. So that's the biggest reason why we want to give ourselves that longer pathway. We'd rather go slower to have a strong opening than just push forward and move quickly just to open.
Okay.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Take your time on it. So,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much to the district who's been working with us on making those updates and meeting the MOU. We really appreciate the collaboration. Yes.
All right. This is just discussion, but any comments from the public? Online? All right, back to the board. There's no action, so unless there's any final comments, we'll move on to the next one. All right. Let's move on to item B, charter school update on the operational memorandum of understanding between Folsom Cordova Unified School District and New Pacific School, Rancho Cordova. Superintendent.
Yes, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Kiefer, who is the executive director and is here this evening. And again, thank he and his team for working with Betty Jo and our team for complying to the items in the MOU. The one piece that I would invite Dr. Kiefer to speak on is the board meeting that you had today, because some of the items here in the MOU were pending your board meeting, which I think also took place today.
Thank you. And I too want to mention my gratitude for Betty Jo and the district and working with us to complete the documentation and the changes in order with the board. Our board did approve the MOU. Minutes will be forthcoming, but they approved that today at our 9:30 board meeting.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes.
So, Mr. President.
Yes.
So one of the, I think, things that we were looking at was having a member from the school district be on the board. Was that voted on by your board?
That's already in our MOU.
Is it?
That's already in our bylaws.
Okay, so that
Yeah, it's already
we're
there.
good to go on that then, right?
Sure.
Okay, good. I mean, I just wanted to make sure. I think the other question that I had was the location. It was discussed that it might be on Mather Field and International or Mather Field and Rockingham. Have we settled on the spot?
So much like in our prior conversations, we're still in negotiation, but we have found a space that actually is more appropriate. It's a safer neighborhood. It's safer from the standpoint of traffic. It also will meet the needs of the city as well.
Can you disclose that location?
I can't. We're in
Okay.
negotiations.
Okay, that's fine. That's not a problem. But thank you so much. And
Yes.
it was great seeing you a couple of weeks ago. And we'll
Thank
be
you.
in touch.
Thank you, Trustee Clark.
Definitely.
Mr. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Clark, I just want to let you know that I did verify that the language is in the bylaws, number one, and number two, the address is in the documents attached.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I must have overlooked that.
Yeah, so that address, this is new information in the last couple of weeks. That address isn't going to work for us. And so we'll be coming back to you for an approval on that, or at least to let you know, recognize that the space is that we're bringing forward. Due to the fact that although we thought when our conversations with the city said it would have been more appropriate, they told us the conditions in order to make it appropriate, and it didn't fit either our timeline nor our cost structure for moving into that facility.
Okay, I'm just a little, okay, so there isn't a spot yet, right?
We have not confirmed the spot yet.
Okay.
So, but we are still charging ahead for a fall opening.
And so as a technicality, Mr. Clark, the MOU requires the identification of an address.
That's where I was going with it.
And so it actually will, when the actual address is identified, it will require a petition revision.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And when would we find out that location?
Our hope is in the next week or two.
Okay.
So it's imminent. And we believe that it will be turnkey enough that it will require very little TIs. And so we'd be able to operationally start the school without any hiccups for incoming students or families.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions from the board? Any from the public? Online? All right. Well, this was just for discussion, so unless there's any further, we'll move to the next item. All right. Next item is first read, Board Bylaw 9323, Meeting Conduct. Superintendent.
Yes, this is coming to the board for a first read. The board policy was reviewed at our policy subcommittee meeting on February 13th, of which we had 2 board members there as well. The major change in this bylaw just goes back and reflects what our board talked about at our study session in January about members of the public will not be permitted to yield their speaking time to another member. And that is the major change in this policy.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes.
Okay, so quell my confusion here. We had discussed the 3 minutes, and I had brought it up, I think, the last meeting or the meeting before, and asked about that, and then it was put back on us saying, no, it was 2 minutes. So are we allowing 3 minutes unless we have like a big crowd or something, and then it would be the consensus of the board to go with 2 minutes, or how are we working that?
We actually agreed to go back to 3 minutes, and so we've since that meeting we've set the clock at 3 minutes. So
Okay.
we would only switch it to 2 minutes if there's agreement of the board.
Okay, and then so with that, I just want to make sure our student speakers will have the extra minute on each one, correct?
Correct.
All right, perfect.
Any other questions? Okay. Any questions from the public? Online? All right, back to the board. All right, we'll move on to item D, first read, Board Policy 5141.52, Suicide Prevention. Superintendent.
Yes, this policy was also reviewed with our policy subcommittee on February 13th and is coming to the board for a first read. Many of the areas in green are CSBA revisions, but the biggest revisions include that we consult with school and community stakeholders and school mental health professionals to increase number of staff members who receive suicide awareness professional development. And also the timing of when we would review this policy. So CSBA recommends that it be reviewed at least every 5 years. And we put in ours that we would review it every 3 years or whenever deemed necessary. So we didn't want to be restricted if we wanted to come back, because this is an ever-evolving landscape for us as well. So those are the two major changes I wanted to point out.
Okay. Questions from the board? Public? Online? All right, back to the board. Sounds like we are all set there, so let's move to agenda item E. First read, Board Policy 6120, Response to Instruction and Intervention. Superintendent.
Yes, and this policy was also reviewed with Policy Subcommittee. This is referring to RTI, or Response to Intervention. And the revisions primarily include support for students in social emotional well-being, and also added language for ongoing screening to identify students who aren't making adequate progress. So the SEL and the behavioral side are fairly new. We've always been assessing and screening students for the academic, but this broadens that lens.
Okay. Questions from the board? Public? Online? All right. Hearing no more comment from the board, I guess we are finished with that item. So that takes us to agenda item 13, information. And we have item A, which is impact of artificial intelligence on education. Superintendent.
Well, this is coming to the board as a request from the board to bring information about ChatGPT in particular, but also many different AI programs that are out there. And since the request initially came, we've read so much, and research has, continues to evolve as we're learning about artificial intelligence and how it can be a tool and how we might want to embrace that, but also be very mindful of how we use it. So this was an information item. I want to thank Pam Oyen and the team of folks from Curriculum and Instruction that helped put this information together alongside ETIS. But Pam is here to answer any questions if you have them on this particular information item.
The board, do you have any questions?
I don't have a question, but I just have a comment. I myself have done a lot of reading, and I think it's one of those things that we've all experienced where new things come our way and it's not going anywhere, so we have to learn how to work with it. And the more we say you can't have it, a kid is inevitably going to want to see what it is. And so there are tons and tons of scholarly articles out there that made me want to go back to the classroom where you could teach the kids how to use it in a way that benefits them. This is something that they're going to have for a very long time in their future. And I've seen it equated to a calculator. And when calculators first came out and teachers were like, no, you can't use a calculator. It's a tool, and it's a tool that we have now in our pocket all the time. And we don't do long division. We put it on our calculator on our phone. So when I was reading it, I was inspired, and I know that our teachers in our district will get really creative with the tools. And it'll change what things look like, but that's not always a bad thing. So.
Other questions?
Yeah, I agree with Board Member Lofthouse. And I know that many delegates across the state have had an interest in this. And I know I'm going to be flying down to Southern California at the end of the month. And that was one of the things that they wanted to talk about. And they said, we just have to learn to live with this. It's not going to go anywhere. It's something that we're going to have to get used to. So I'm looking forward to additional discussion on it.
Just a quick comment, and really kind of to agree with my colleagues, and want to thank you for this presentation. It was really refreshing to read that about the opportunities. So I really appreciate that being part of it. I know actually most of my family members downloaded this app a few days ago. We've been having a lot of fun with it. But it is really clear that, yeah, it's definitely something we have to have on our radar. So, yeah, thank you for the presentation, but also just the way that you put this together. It's very enjoyable.
I have maybe a couple questions, observations maybe. I agree 100% that this is, for better or worse, something that we are going to have going forward. We can't undo this. Technology always moves forward, and we have to learn how to incorporate it, use it, learn from it. However, that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have concerns. I would agree, it very much like long division, but we did learn how to do long division even though we had the calculator, and I assume we still teach long division. My concern with this is if students can use this to produce essays, how will a teacher know that there was any independent thought in the development of essays? Does the technology allow for a teacher to be able to identify that an entire work product came from AI and not from the student?
So at the same time that this came out, we saw a lot of other programs coming out that are like AI detectors.
Okay.
Some of the programs that we use in the district, that all of our high schools use a program called Turn It In. And they've already announced that they're going to be releasing in the fall some tools to help with this. But when I talk to some of our teachers too, they also talk about things like they get to know their students, they know their students' voice. And so when they see something that is drastically different, then that is also an indicator to them that, this might not be something that student had written. And it is a concern. Our teachers are embracing it, but also knowing that it also changes things in the classroom. And they're having discussions, grappling with how do we use it and show students how to use it as a tool to help them. In high school, I would have been the student who put in, did I use the semicolon right every time I wrote a sentence? So, finding ways that it can be helpful to students for just-in-time questions that they have, but and guiding them to say, this is not a replacement. It's not an easy way out of doing work, but it's a way that you can use this tool to help you do better.
I just wonder, if there are certain students who don't choose to use it because they want to learn how to write and be a good writer and how to think. Mm-hmm. And then other students that use it, how are you going to have equitable grading? Presumably, the student that's working really hard to learn the skill set of writing might get lower grades than the students that just simply rely on artificial intelligence.
I think the change in that is in how we assess students, is having different ways that we're looking at getting the authentic voice from the student. Our teachers do hundreds of formal and informal formative assessments and summative assessments in the classroom. And honestly, even before ChatGPT, if a student was taking homework home, as a teacher, we don't know what other supports they have that are helping them complete that, whether online or my big brother helped me with my math homework. So that's something that teachers deal with all the time.
Okay.
I'd also venture to say, as somebody who taught writing 6th grade through 12th grade, for many years, you aren't just assessing that final essay. You are learning the entire writing process. So like you said, some kids want to learn how to write and some kids don't. But even if they don't want to, they still have to learn the process in the classroom. So it starts from dumping out all the information onto your paper and then doing a graphic organizer and then doing an outline. And as a teacher, I assessed every single one of those steps because every single one of those steps is important in the writing process. And to this day, when I'm writing an essay, I still myself go through all of those steps, the same steps I taught a 6th grader, because it's not just the end result that's going to show you what a student knows. It's that entire process. And so as a student, if you turn in a final draft as your rough draft or as your outline or as your your graphic organizer, you've missed a whole bunch of lessons and a whole bunch of learning that happens between point A and point B. So it's not just that end point that you're being assessed as a student or that the teacher is assessing,
Right.
especially an English language arts teacher who's teaching writing.
Do you anticipate that perhaps there might be teachers that would have some of the writing take place in the classroom versus doing it at home?
They do that now.
To have a controlled environment? Yeah. I also kind of wonder, I mean, again, how we can potentially even embrace the AI. Perhaps even having, the students develop their essay using AI and then have them go and improve it, edit it, add additional content, make it their own, and then submit both so the teacher can see how they adjusted the content. I guess there's probably many different learning opportunities.
There's a way, some of the conversations are using it to critique the students' writing, using it to help them with, a starting off point if they're struggling with what to write about, generating ideas. So there's all sorts of positive applications. And our students, our teachers are grappling with like how best to put, that in place. But in the last month, the ed tech organizations, the curriculum instruction organizations, it's a lot of chats and discussions and webinars, and this is a forefront of how can we adopt this and internalize it, and how can we use it to really support instruction and teaching.
Yeah, I guess my ultimate fear, though, is, if we could go fast forward 50 years and go through 3 generations, 4 generations, will Americans have the ability to critically think and develop content, original content, or will we be relying exclusively or depending on the artificial intelligence? And if it wasn't for artificial intelligence, future generations wouldn't even be able to put together a sentence. Again, that's just a fear. It doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. But these are the things that I think about.
I'm an optimist, and I think it'll just give us new ways to create things.
Will there be, obviously we're at the infancy of this, so I assume as time goes on, we'll be developing policies or constructs of how teachers can implement and all that.
Yeah, this is ongoing conversation in the PLCs at the sites.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Thank you so much for the informative presentation. I just wanted to echo the perspectives of Board Member Lofthouse and Board Member Clark. I think it's important to give students the benefit of the doubt when it comes to technology. I understand the perspective that the software will be used for students to take shortcuts, but there's always been ways for us to take shortcuts. And ChatGPT and other technologies will become just a regular part of our future. And I think from the perspective of a student, kindergarten to senior year, there are always ways that we are assessed that are unaffected by technology, whether it be a handwritten essay or, like Board Member Lofthouse was taking us through the step-by-step process. There's not a lot of ways that you can get around thinking when it's, write your thesis statement and then take it to a paragraph, things like that. And I'm already having, in all my classes, my teachers, figuring out ways to prevent us from using ChatGPT. Like my midterm tomorrow is handwritten in order to prevent us using ChatGPT. So I definitely see educators figuring out ways around it. So yeah, and I think also if we're not using it at school, students will definitely have access to it outside of school. So I think if anything, we should be embracing it as a way to find efficiency rather than, shun it as something students shouldn't be using at all. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, not hearing any others. I will open it to public comment, even though it's information. No, online? No, Mr. Reed. Okay. All right, well, that finishes that agenda item. Thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Pam.
That takes us to agenda item 14, Superintendent's Report. Superintendent Collegian.
Well, I want to go back to the beginning of our meeting and acknowledge the great presentations that we had tonight and just the generous nature of Deb Andrus donating her check and her award back to Cordova High School and to the special prom. I mean, that is just, talk about that coming full circle and the impact that our schools have on students and students have on each other is pretty awesome. And then hearing, the performing arts highlighted as we did tonight was incredible. And then hearing about the connections at Folsom Hills Elementary, I just applaud all of them tonight for their presentations. I also want to thank all of our high schools and alternatives that have been involved in the WASP process in these last 2 weeks. And it is a very long process that involves many staff members, parents, community, and those that have attended from the board. I appreciate your support as well. So for Vista Del Lago, Cordova High School, the Adult School, and Innovations Academy, we got the first phase of their WASP process going. So well done to them. And I want to do a shout out to Matt and our facilities team. They recently received an award at the CASH conference, which is the Coalition of Adequate School Housing, for the design and architecture of Mangini Ranch Elementary. And it was an award of distinction. So congratulations, Matt. And I know that's serving as a design for our future elementary schools with Alder Creek coming online next. So congratulations to you, and congratulations to Angela Griffin and our communications team for the 4 awards that she submitted and was recognized at the CalSPER conference last week. And all of those are awards that highlight our district, the CTE program, our recruitment video to the HBCUs. So well done to Angela and the team. And then we had 2 students honored this week at the Every Student Succeeding Awards Banquet through AXA. And these are students that have succeeded in ways that, it really shows grit and resilience. And one of our students was from Mitchell Middle School and one was from Folsom High School. And their families were there to support and be with them. And we were excited for them as well. So congratulations to all of those that have earned those awards. And then March is a busy month with recognitions. It's Music Appreciation, but it's also Disability Awareness Month, National Women's Recognition Month. It's also Social Emotional Wellbeing. And at our next meeting, we're going to be honoring those students that are winners of our SEL art contest. And their artwork is upstairs on the 4th floor. But it's just amazing to see the work that our students are doing. So kudos to all of our schools and staff that are working so hard and making those connections. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to item 15, board member reports. We'll start with Board Member Shrivastava.
Thank you. Happy March. A huge congratulations to both of the staff members who were honored this evening. It was so great to hear about the special education prom. What a great initiative. And also an amazing performance from Folsom High Jazz Choir. I also got to participate in Vista's WASC accreditation process since last school year. I've been part of the committees, and it was so great to see the process come to fruition these past couple of weeks. And we held some really great listening sessions with the students at Vista, and I'm really confident that will help us improve overall. And then also I just want to mention again that our SAB applications for both representative and student board member will be released on March 24th, and all of the dates and timelines will be posted for that process on the website on the SAB webpage. And we're really hoping that we'll have some amazing students apply. We've had great students this past year, and I'm confident that we'll continue into the coming school year. SAB or student board member position will be open to any junior or senior who has either served in student advisory board or has held a leadership position in any kind of school affiliated club. So yeah, we're really hoping that we'll have some amazing students apply. And then finally, good luck to all of our Vista students who are taking midterms tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you. Board Member Perez.
Yeah, brief report. I'm glad to have also been a part of our WASC tour at Cordova High School on Monday. And I'm super excited for our forthcoming of school events, which run from March up until graduation. Mainly anticipated for our Spring Fling dance for our special needs students next Friday at Cordova High, which is my all-time favorite dance. Good luck to all my students and peers for midterms and finishing off our 3rd quarter very strong. Keep pulling through, my seniors, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see. Board Member Lofthouse.
I also have a brief report. I loved seeing the focus conversations from Ms. Hendrick from Folsom Hills and the benefit of having that early release for the teachers and we also received multiple emails regarding the same topic. So it's nice to see those coming into fruition. I know they've worked really hard for many years to get that, and it's definitely benefiting the kids. Congratulations to Deb Andrus and Wendy for sharing that wonderful award and also sharing the magic at the special needs prom for Cordova High. I've attended the Vista del Lago similar sweetheart dance, and it truly is a very, very special event. Congratulations to Mr. Gazer on so many accomplishments. I know his shoes are going to be impossible to fill for Folsom High School. I don't have a musical bone in my body, but every time I hear any one of his groups from the time I was in high school till now, I always wish I did. So I know he is going to be a loss for Folsom High and will forever be a legacy there. So thank you, and loved the performance as well.
Thank you. Board Member Clark?
Thank you, Mr. President. Let's see. Well, I have a lot. But I echo everything Board Member Lofthouse said about Curtis and his music program at Folsom. It was just so soothing to hear this jazz choir sing, and I just wish that they had maybe a YouTube video or whatever they have just of their music. I can listen to that all day, but congratulations to them. They're still going to do big things. I talked to a couple of students who, believe it or not, are sophomores. The lead singer that was to my left is a sophomore, so they're going to be doing some big things, and I can't wait to see them perform in the future. Back on February 20th, and I wish Ashwin was here, I would personally thank him for inviting me out to the robotics competition with Falcon Drone and Robotics Organization. I had the opportunity to speak to the parents and the students there, and what blew me away was these students building these robots and doing these competitions, and I'm asking them what grade they're in. And I had one student from Mangini Ranch who was in the third grade, doing coding and building robots. And I mean, it was just amazing to see that. But here's my wish. I would really love to see that and it was actually, there were students from Mangini, Russell Ranch, Mather Heights, Theodore Judah, Folsom Middle, and Riverview STEM. But wouldn't it be nice if we had something like that at Cordova Gardens? Wouldn't that be nice if we have something like that at Cordova Villa to serve those disadvantaged students, to get them into a STEAM program? I talked to Mayor Linda Budge, and she's fully on board, and I'm just hoping that we can try to work together somehow to bring those programs into those schools. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Cordova Gardens, Cordova Villa, but any of those schools that are in that area. I mean, even Williamson. If we can get them in there, that would just be so awesome for those kids to get them involved. Have another request, and this is something that I'm hearing from the community, and crazy idea, but I would like to see maybe a sports town hall meeting for Cordova, just to talk about the future of Cordova sports. Get all the major stakeholders and players involved, the city, RC-SAC, all of them, just to get together and talk about the direction that we're heading as far as Cordova sports. And I mean everything from their junior Lancer to their high school sports. Let's find out where we're deficient. Let's find out how we can help those programs thrive. I want them to be on the same level as our other schools, because right now we're not, and we need to do better on that. Enjoyed my visits. It's probably a pretty long list, but Sandra J. Gallardo, Folsom Hills, Oak Chan, Southern Middle, Theodore Judah, Folsom Middle, Cordova Meadows, Cordova High, Mills Middle, and I will add that I had an opportunity to go into their drum class, and I guess they have a pretty good drum line that's going to be performing here at our next board meeting, so I'm really excited about that. Last week was Read Across America. Had an opportunity to read at Rancho Cordova Elementary and Cordova Villa, and I just want to send a special thanks to Miss Sarah David's class at Cordova Villa for the book that they signed and presented to me. It's at home on my coffee table, and I look forward to reading it to other classes. Excited personally as a CSBA director to facilitate Region 6 meeting this Saturday. And as I said previous in a comment, that I look forward to flying down to Ventura County and meeting a few of the board members there and attend a few board meetings just to see how their board meetings are ran, and just talk to some of their board members and staff just to see how things are going. And then next week is Legislative Action Week that CSBA members take part in. I look forward to meeting with our area representatives. There is an assembly bill out there that concerns me. So I will be having a discussion about that, and also to talk about full and fair funding, because it's still out there, and our schools, definitely our district, is going to need the extra funds. So I look forward to that, and hopefully, Mr. President, I may have a report on that next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Board Member Lorette.
Yeah, I just wanted to congratulate all of our award winners. I know that especially the jazz band and jazz choir have just a kind of a crown jewel of Folsom and really have been a backbone to the community, and always love seeing them perform. Wanted to just give a shout out to Cordova High. They brought back the Clark Massey relays this last week, and we did pretty good with only 45 minutes of rain. That was downpour, but the athletes all stuck in there and did a great job. And, you know, to just really kind of agree with Mr. Clark as far as athletics at Cordova High, you know, I think a town hall meeting is completely appropriate. And really what I saw at that particular event was a collaboration from multiple athletic within the departments. We had football coaches that were out there helping us facilitate the soccer. Coach McCann and his boys soccer team was helping us with the snack bar. We had Rancho Cordova Track Club with coaches out there running different events. And this collaborative effort, I think that we could take into a new future with Cordova High School athletics. And so I think if we can kind of duplicate some of those efforts, because it really took all of those stakeholders and partners to really make the event come together. We, put it together in a relatively short period of time and are able to host about 17 schools. So that was really, really great. Did some site visits. And one thing I just want to comment on was our presentation tonight with Folsom Hills, and then also at Peter J. Shields was specifically, a lot of our sites are really going data-driven and being very specific with our students as far as, tracking standards and things like that, and where we can help them and see where we need to intervene. And just want to thank the staff and the teachers and the principals of all of our schools who are really going to above and beyond to make sure that our students are getting the supports that they need. And love doing Reading Across America. It was really great being at Rancho Cordova Elementary and Cordova Villa and seeing those students, and they're just lovely children, and they're so thrilled when you're there, and it's exciting to be with them. So also spoke with the superintendent about this, but also wanted to see if at our future meetings, if there's a point where we could bring up our reclassified ESL students when they reclassify, and have them at a board meeting with their families so that we could do a presentation with them and their families to recognize the tremendous amount of effort and work that they go through. And tonight was a special board meeting, and I love seeing the students here with their families, and I think as many times that we can duplicate those efforts for all of our learners would be good. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Board Member Hui.
Thank you. Two very quick things. First, just want to echo Ria's sentiments and wish our Vista students best of luck. One more day of midterms, and then just one more round after that. So hope everybody's feeling good after that. And also wanted to Wish a fun and safe junior prom to our Folsom High students and all those that are going to be going. Please stay dry and stay safe and have a good time.
Thank you. I'd like to reiterate what Mr. Clark mentioned. I think having a sports town hall for Rancho Cordova, I think that's a wonderful idea. And I have to imagine that's something we can easily put together, Superintendent. I also echo my colleagues who went to elementary schools for Read Across America. I went to Empire Oaks Elementary. It's so fun. I really do enjoy that day. Unfortunately, I guess we didn't do it for a couple of years with the pandemic, but it's been the first time in a couple of years I've been able to do it, and I don't know if I have the right words, but it just makes me so hopeful for everything that our youth. They're so cute. I don't know how else to say it, but I almost wish I could go in and read to a class every single day, because it just makes me so hopeful for our young generations as they get older, and their inquisitiveness and their interest. And I'd go home and read to my teenagers, except for they would probably roll their eyes and don't understand why I'm reading to them. So, but anyway, I enjoyed that very much. Let's see. The jazz ensemble. I have to tell you, I was I guess it was a couple weeks ago, I was mentioning to my wife, I'm like, I can't think of any jazz club, in the area. And she said, well, I think there might be one in Sacramento somewhere. And I'm like, well, we should have a jazz club somewhere in this area. I didn't know. I just needed to wait a couple weeks and I'd have it right for us. I mean, they were phenomenal, just absolutely phenomenal. And maybe one of them will be entrepreneurial and open up a jazz club in Rancho Cordova or Folsom. Who knows? Then finally, and these two items are actually kind of tied together. I do have some concerns about building costs that we're looking at we had significant building costs associated with Mangini Ranch. We have significant building costs associated with Alder Creek Elementary. And as Matt was telling me, they're removing certain features that were not necessary to keep the costs within control at Alder Creek Elementary. But the costs are still going up because of the cost of the land, the cost of steel, the cost of construction. So even though Alder Creek is going to have, it's still going to be a phenomenal school, but certain things we just didn't feel were necessary, the costs are still going to be significantly higher. And it just makes me very worried about the future buildings that we have planned south of 50, both in Rancho Cordova and in Folsom. We have limited bond funds. These bond funds they are needed to build, I believe, I don't remember the exact number of elementary schools, but a handful of elementary schools, a middle school, a high school. And I'm just very concerned about us running out of bond funds and what our plan will be when that eventually happens. We don't have enough funds to build all the schools that we're going to need to build south of 50. And so, I think we need to have some type of dialogue about those costs. I mean, obviously, we're going to be moving forward with Alder Creek, and we're building that on the design of Mangini Ranch. So I'm not suggesting that, we interfere with that development, but I'm talking about the next school after that and the next school after that, that I think we need to have some thoughtful conversations on how we're going to proceed. And that kind of dovetails with my final, which is, the building committee that we have hasn't met, I don't know when the last time it met. I know we have 2 board members on the building committee. I'm going to say it's been over a year since the building committee met. I would like to have a meeting of the building committee to just chat I think that might be a good first place to have a dialogue, not necessarily a presentation before the school board, but I don't know if we could get a meeting scheduled of that.
Yes, we can, and we are looking at a date for revisiting the high school specs.
Okay.
Yeah, that were board approved several months ago, but it's time to relook at it, I think.
It might be a good opportunity for Matt and team to share with the building committee, some of the cost changes that they're looking at Alder Creek as well, just.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my report for this evening. All right, advanced planning. Let's see, our next board meeting is on March 23rd, 2023. The 12-month calendar is there for your reference, and suggested future agenda items we have listed there. Do we have any additional suggested items for future agendas?
Before you go there, Mr. Reed,
Yes.
I just want to make a suggestion on the 1300 campaign resolution. We have a draft. We thought we'd bring it to the policy subcommittee first, which is March 20th.
Okay.
And then we'd probably bring it to the April board meeting because we wouldn't have enough time to get it on the 23rd. So I know it says March 23rd there for that board meeting, but we're going to bring it to policy subcommittee and then the board.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Any additional items? No? All right, that takes us, let's see. We have no more closed session. We handled all of our closed session issues in our initial closed session. So that takes us to adjournment. So unless there's objection, we will adjourn the meeting by unanimous consent. Is there an objection? Hearing none, we are adjourned.